So, hey guys, today we're going to be talking about backrow removal and how backrow removal somehow has been power crept, like just unironically. What do we have that is just phenomenally good at removing backrow? Well, there isn't really a card like that right now. So, first off, there is this small issue. There are two types of back row cards. So let's assume, of course, we have a floodgate, right? Essentially, borderline a floodgate might as well be one. We have a red reboot, right? So if we were to red reboot, this only deals with technically half of the back row our opponent might be playing, depending on exactly what our opponent is running, of course. So, when your opponent activates a trap card, we negate the activation. If we do that, for the rest of the turn, our opponent cannot activate trap cards, right? So we do have this, but if we're just talking about back row in general, there are two types, right? There are spells and traps, so this would only take care of half of them. So if we were to look at, for example, Sky Striker, if our opponent has just like 3 copies of Widow Anchor in their back row, well, not much. Well, yeah, red reboot's not gonna do much for you here. Pretty much nothing at all, really. But if we were to instead be playing just generic back row removal, we'd be able to remove back row in general, is what I would say if we could do that. So we just gonna pretend this guy doesn't exist. Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Solemn Judgment. Old Man Say No. So even if you were to have red reboot, Judgment can just negate your red reboot. Well, the interesting thing about red reboot, I guess, is that it is a counter trap, meaning it can only be responded to and by counter traps. Which, I mean, yeah, this is a counter trap, so not a whole lot to say about this. And also, this just makes it so destruction doesn't really work. So, But surely there is no other card like this, right? Wrong. Very incredibly wrong. Oh, Decisive Battle of Gonda. What a fun card we have here. Notably worth mentioning, this is soft once per turn, so even if your opponent were to open multiple copies of Golgonda, well, they can activate 3 copies of Golgonda technically in the same turn. And then you would have to protect this, well, attempt to destroy this and get past the protection like 3-4 times or something, right? Also worth mentioning is this card protects itself. Yup. That's great. You have to somehow bypass the protection on the protection. I've never heard of this one before. But also, of course, aside from just Gonda, we also have Yugen. Yup. This is epic, isn't it? No hard ones per turn on this either. But the way this protects is different, so it doesn't really matter. Unless you have, like, a full board wipe, like full board destruction, there's no way to really bypass the Hugen protection. Because Hugen says if another card you control would be destroyed, so that would include, of course, this card, right? So if Hugen would be destroyed along with whatever card, it can't be protected by Hugen at least. So yeah, that honestly doesn't really matter because that practically never comes up unless you're doing something like a Raigeki, in which case like Hugen cannot protect from Raigeki. That is it. But Hugen gets recycled to the extra deck anyways, and it can be summoned again. And if we're thinking in lines of like main deck removal, well, you'll probably need to access main deck removal of some sort, like whether it be for monsters or back row, just some sort of removal. It needs to be in your main deck because if you're seeing these cards, like 9 times out of 10, you're being floodgated out of the game. So you'll need some way to remove whatever floodgate you're being floodgated by. It could be something like, I don't know, Ishira Arise Heart. It could be something like just Fossil Dyna. There can be only one. Whatever it is, you'll need a way to remove it. And this makes it pretty impossible or really obnoxious. So just real quick to show you guys all of the back row removal that's been power crept, because it just won't work. So first of all, you just run one of Harpy's Feather Duster. You bet your ass your opponent is so ready for this single Harpy's Feather Duster. If we were to just magically have three, it would barely make a difference. If we opened all three, it might not even do anything. Harpy's Feather Duster, epic card. Surely this will work, right? And just another idea here. Let's assume Backrow is running really rampant, right? So your primary, I guess, like Backrow removal option will be, for the most part, spells. I don't think traps are that threatening, so might as well throw this in here. Well, this is specific to Labyrinth, but might as well throw it out there. Eradicator Epidemic Virus, calling spell before you can even place a single spell in the standby phase or draw phase. Just Eradicator Epidemic Virus you, and then, not only did I lose my, back row removal, let's say Duster. Let's just pretend Duster would have done something good for you here. Because it's like 50-50 if Duster's actually good or not, unironically. But alright. So, you Duster, it gets popped. Your Duster, that is. And then you might also have other spells, like perhaps something like Eroda, Fossil Dig, whatever. Your other cards, they're also all gone, so about like 2, 3, maybe even 4 of your spells in your hand can just be kind of popped before you can even have a chance to play them, and those are all gone. Now what? Well, now you only have your monsters, and also your opponent still has all of their back row available. And since they did Eradicator pop, that means there is a good chance that your opponent actually has Lovely on the field. Because this usually means they did a 3-card combo, I believe. And this means you're going to get hand ripped this turn. Or non-targeting popped this turn as well. And that means last turn, your opponent also popped probably a card in your hand with the effect of Lovely. So, yeah, that's not great, but it is something that typically happens, so it is what it is, I guess. Quite miserable, I would say so, but alright. You get hit by this, you get hit by that. Okay, so what is our counterplay to these cards? For Golgonda, for example, we could try for Red Reboot, or we could try for Evenly, but then who says that we only have to out Golgonda, right? It wouldn't necessarily be just Golgonda. We might have to deal with like a Solemn Judgment plus the Golgonda, which makes it so we need multiple outs to Golgonda. So that would mean we would have to open a ridiculous hand, like double evenly matched with Red Reboot or something dumb. Like, it depends exactly how bad it gets, but that'd be pretty bad, right? But then on top of that, right, if you take it another step further, right? If we go back to why Red Reboot wouldn't be that good, it's if our opponent is playing specifically Fissure, for example. Let's say Fissure shuts down your deck. Red Reboot still won't help, even if your opponent has like things you can reboot, because they just get a search and you're just more screwed the next turn because you still don't have an answer to the Fissure. So that's right. If we get unsidetracked here and go back through all of our lovely backer removal, we have Cosmic Cyclone. So the issue with Cosmic specifically is that this isn't good enough, honestly. This targets one spell trap on the field and then banishes it. Okay, so if we see Tikaboo on the field with, for example, Moonmirror Shield Fossil Dyna, or perhaps we get hit by the the whatchamacallit, the everything is a machine now taunt spell. What exactly will Cyclone accomplish here? Well, if we were to Cosmic one other macro, so specifically the one that's raising their attack and defense here, Clockwork Knights, right? Yeah, so if we were to get rid of that, then we can normal summon a guy, run over it by battle. Oh, we got solved. Okay, GG, I guess. You know, that's the energy. Or maybe you get hit by Mirror Force, Nadir Servant. Who knows? There's just so many options that you could get hit by at this point in time. So that's miserable. What other options can we get hit by here? Loads of things, honestly. But alright, let's see. What about Twin Twisters? For the same reasons as Harpy's Weather Duster, pretty useless card. Like, Gonda is a card that exists, so not necessarily that great. There might be like some rare opportunities for you to play Twin Twisters, but it's like it feels so power crept. No point in really playing this. If we go with like Lightning Storm, in theory it'd be good, but of course like uh Spell Trap, just destruction is no longer good enough. We would need like Send to the Graveyard or something like that, so that doesn't necessarily help. And let's assume we just play some complete jank. Let's say we have anti-spell arrows or whatever. Let's say, or no, not anti-spell arrows, anti-magic arrows. If we're playing this, at the start of the battle phase for the rest of this turn after this card resolves, neither player can activate spell trap cards or their effects. And neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation, meaning this cannot be solemned. So in theory, if you were playing against like certain kind of stun, like backrow stun, none of the backrow would be activatable after you use anti-magic arrows. Issue. If I were to activate anti-magic arrows, my opponent can play around this so easily by simply flipping skill drain in like standby phase or just before the start of the battle phase. So this card ain't gonna do it, chief. And also, I mean, yeah, anti-spell also exists. So yeah, that's not exactly fun either. And just in general, we don't really have options to remove. Backrow, just, yeah. And in terms of our options, they might as well all be the same card. It's all just backrow destruction, destroying the backrow. There aren't really options for sending the backrow or banishing the backrow aside from like just evenly matched. Which even then, there's counterplay for. But if we go to specifically monster-based strategies, there's just so much, literally just unrespondable, well, impossible to play around like options here, right? With Super Poly, just no response. Your cards are just going to get fused away into something. And this is at 3, right? And meanwhile, Red Reboot's only at 2. Just saying, you know? And this is best of 1, like, are you crazy? Why can't we get Red Reboot to 3? When Solemn Judgment is also at 3, which counters Red Reboot, so Red Reboot is just so, well, not in favor, you know? If you're playing Red Reboot, you're obviously, well, the probability of you winning the game just is not that great, we'll say. Yeah? And then, after Super Poly, we have, of course, Kaijus, Lava Golem, Sphere Mode, Dharma Karma Cannon. There's just like a bajillion different ways to out monsters in general. And of course, we have like infinite impermanence to stop setups as well. But if we're going back into more types of just removal in general, let's see. No, that's not what it was called. It was what was it called again? Let's see. Abyss, maybe something like this. Herald of the Abyss. Pay 1,500 life points and declare one monster type and one attribute. Your opponent must send one face-up monster with a declared type and attribute from the field to the graveyard. So this isn't something you can do too much about. Just send your guy, right? That just Yeah, that just outs any like towers or any monsters as long as your opponent's not playing uh all of the same type of monster, I guess. Kind of, right? So that's a thing. So we have Kaijus, Lava Golem, Sewer Mode, and then all of the cards that are actually just more or less Kaijus, but they are not called Kaijus. Like Volcanic Queen, for example. So we have all of those cards to out like our monsters, and just to deal with whole monster boards as well. Of course, we have like Dark Ruler no more. We have Forbidden Droplet as well. And then meanwhile, we look back to like just our cards that we have to deal with, just full trap decks, and it's like, ah yes, our 2 of Red Reboot. Hmm. So what if we don't open Red Reboot? What's our game plan? Activate Duster against Golgonda, Yugen, and then our opponent probably like draws like 2 cards off of that. Specifically, if we're playing, well, it doesn't even have to be Bestial Runic. It's just if you have the Kant spell, then when Hugen gets banished, it recycles itself, and then you also draw a card off of that, and then on top of that, you activated a runic spell, which allows you to trigger Fountain to shuffle back and draw. So, worst case scenario, we're looking at like draw 4 here, and our opponent here in this case, like 9 times out of 10 probably has another runic spell. So, assuming you drop Duster twice or something, or some kind of backer removal twice on your opponent, they'll just protect again, and they'll have 2 more cards in hand as well while they're here. So very epic, very cool. Our backer removal in general is now just power craft. And here is another issue while we're at it. If we look at Runic specifically, how exactly do we out Runic Fountain? So if we hit it with like a Duster, this won't out it. And if we were to drop evenly matched, if our opponent's legit just playing like Runic, then they only have Runic Fountain on field, and all of their spell traps are being played straight from the hand, meaning evenly doesn't really work against Runic here specifically, right? It'll work fine against like Runic Stun, it'll help you out the back row, it'll help you potentially out Fountain, depending on how things go, but yeah, this is not great by any means, right? So, forms of backer removal, yeah, we don't have really good forms of backer removal as it stands, right? And let's assume your backer removal does work if we're playing against like Labyrinth, right? Your backer removal, how much does it actually matter? So let's say we do Lovely, we special summon Lovely, and we have Lady, and let's say we have Big Welcome set alongside Dharma Karma Cannon I searched off of Lady Lab, right? Let's assume this happened. Then in this case, well, are you going to be able to win if you duster this? No, not necessarily. And we could be looking at something pretty bad. So let's say we just have Duster in terms of going second cards and going first cards. They don't really matter here, but like can traps and stuff, let's say they don't really matter here. So I mean, since Lovely is here, it wouldn't really matter because they're not activatable, worth mentioning. But okay, let's say you Duster, then Big Welcome gets sent to the graveyard alongside Dharma Karma Cannon. In this case, Big Welcome is now activatable as quick effect, which our opponent here is probably fine with. So let's say they wait a bit for you to go a little deeper into like your board making, and then we activate Big Welcome. This allows us to trigger Lovely Labyrinth. And then this allows us to get Chandraglier or Torby, and then this will allow us to uh, activate Coup Clock, which then allows us to trigger perhaps like a Welcome, and then this will get us potentially like Aries the Labyrinth Butler, and then from here there's a chance, depending on exactly what our opponent has, but then our opponent might be able to set a card to activate. Depends exactly, but even if we look at the low end of this, we're getting hit by, after a Duster, we're getting hit by return any card on the field to the hand, and then we have pop a card in hand, or pop a card on field non-targeting after a Duster. And even assuming neither of us get too far and we're somehow able to stop Big Welcome somehow, sure, let's assume this is the case and it's not activatable for whatever reason. Let's say we banish it with like evenly, right? In this case, we're still not doing that great, right? Assuming we cannot remove the lovely here in this case, what shall we do if our opponent has a bajillion years of follow-up here and then we just get outgrinded? And there is literally no top deck that can really realistically save you against Labyrinth. Like, if we have a starter and we drop the red reboot, we can still get hand trapped as well. So then we need a very unrealistic hand where our opponent popped something in our hand, and we also need like starters, red reboot, and then uh yeah, more things. I guess it would be like installation against hand traps, like crossed out and called by, or potentially like Ash Blossom Joy Spring for like a maxi or something. So yeah, just in general, not great. And there's also this annoying obstacle you have to deal with now, where before this wouldn't have been an issue, right? If I get hit by Maxi by Labyrinth, of course they have to run hand traps to Maxi me effectively, right? But now that this card exists, Arius the Labyrinth Butler, my opponent can just draw into IDP and Arius and just IDP me on my turn, or Karma Cannon or something like that. So that's also annoying, right? And this is just like a trap deck, right? So that is not exactly fun. And I mean, slightly worth mentioning, I guess, is how Arius could literally just set up IDP against you on turn 1. Or like a Torrential Tribute. Well, that's great. Why not? And in this case, I guess this backroom removal might be okay. That's about it, just okay. And this means like, even if you can remove, like with Big Welcome, in the case of Big Welcome, even if we dust a Big Welcome, it can still be activated in the graveyard to trigger Lovely, right? If we wanted to deal with what our opponent's cooking up, then we would need something closer to like Cosmic Cyclone or Evenly. Like in terms of removal, we would want to, instead of destroying, we would want to banish their spell traps on field, which there isn't a super good option for this, right? With Cosmic Cyclone, this doesn't trade good enough, just straight up. I mean, there are some situations where it's just so valuable you might actually want to play Cosmic. Like, for example, if we're dealing with Snake Eye, being able to banish a Snake Eye Backrow is actually super valuable. So the Backrow we want to banish, of course, is Snake Eye Flamberge. Yup. If we banish Flamberge, our opponent will, if they're playing like, we're assuming Snake Eye Pier here, of course, if we Cosmic a single one of them, it'll really throw them off, or if they only have a single one, then yeah, no more Flamberge, and no more Flamberge means no more Flamberge effects, and Flamberge has a whole boatload of effects, let's just say. And it builds a ridiculous amount of advantage, I guess, right? So, yeah. this would be pretty good in that case. And in cases where Gonda exists, this ain't gonna be enough a lot of the time, just straight up. So yeah, not only is our back row like the quality of the back row is not good enough, or back row removal is not good enough. So even if we did have like a cosmic duster or something, it can still get solemned. So that's not epic, but you know, it is something. If we were playing a monster deck, you know, we get hit by Dark Ruler no more. There, for the most part, is no super easy answer to this. Well, getting hit by like Dark Ruler no more, you would have to drop like a counter trap on it, or you would have to uh do some like jank things with uh targeted spell trap negates or a targeted omni negate, which is just really awkward but technically doable, which is the best kind of technically, if you ask me. But yeah, backer removal, power crept. So now they're for the most part pretty damn useless, honestly. I mean, there are some cases where, of course, they'll work out, but the majority of the time they just won't work out, despite the fact that you have to. Well, in Master Duel, this is the best one, and we have to main deck it, and we just don't have good enough backer removal cards that are worth like running. They're not justifiable to run sometimes. It's honestly pretty frustrating because that just kind of makes you a victim where you're just hoping to win the coin flip. In this case, where if you lose the coin flip, you can't set up and you just lose. But if you win, then your opponent's cards they just don't work outside of going first anyway. So you'll win, right? So either way, I think it's pretty unhealthy for the game to be like this. But yeah, there must be something that can be done about this. Like even if we get something like I don't know, I guess we would probably need something of this level, right? So trap cards cannot respond to this effect. Banish all spells and traps on the field. Like that kind of effect would be great. Or just banish your opponents. Doesn't really matter. Just banish all of them and make it so traps can't respond to this. So maybe your opponent would have to, I don't know, activate a monster first and then be able to chain to negate like something. I don't know. Doesn't super matter, I guess. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.